This session is basically called, well, what's next? So we're kind of looking at the trends that we're seeing, both just across the board and industry specific, and how those trends, I guess, are being met with different tools. So the first half of the presentation, we're going to be kind of looking mostly domestically, and then my friend Pablo over here will be talking about kind of the trends and things that are happening in Latin America. So, starting first, this is going to be no surprise to anybody in this room because you're obviously in a social media pavilion for a reason, but what we're seeing is that people of all ages, young, middle-aged, older, are becoming much more socially savvy. Even a year ago, my parents, who are 60, had no idea what Facebook was, what Twitter is, and now my dad is tagging me right and left in photos and asking me who I follow on Twitter for sports handles, and it's a completely different universe. I talk to my mom via email on Facebook, so if they're into it, then pretty much anybody on the planet probably is. So where before we were kind of talking to more of a specific target market, younger perhaps, that's just not the case anymore. People are just much more technologically advanced. I don't think I've talked to anybody in this room who does not have a smartphone. I haven't seen anybody who has had their phone away from their face for more than 5 seconds at a time. We're all connected all of the time, and people are starting to expect communication in a much different way. They're expecting it in 140 characters. They're expecting systems like a Dropbox to make file sharing easier. I have a client that is a seafood wholesaler who has actually started taking orders on their Facebook and Twitter accounts. So basically what we're learning is that we have to become much more flexible in how we're communicating and who we're communicating with, and kind of shift what we're doing to fit the customer's need to make things most convenient. You know, staffs now carry around iPhones or smartphones wherever they go so that they can respond immediately if there's a need. So in regards to the fact that people are becoming much more social and mobile savvy, the expectations are changing, the communication styles are changing, and the tools that really kind of address these things are social media. You have your Facebook app, you have your Twitter app, all these things already are living basically on your cell phone, so you can check in on those platforms at any point in time. Another thing is having a mobile view or an application so that if somebody needs to go to your website or get information, it's really easy to download, it's really easy to navigate. If your mobile website is not easy to navigate, you're going to lose them within seconds. So having a mobile-friendly website is critical at this point in the game. Communication options, so things like Dropbox, electronic invoices, providing smartphones and tablets to staff so that they can stay connected. These are all tools that will help keep us, you know, meeting the expectations of our clients and communicating with them in the way that they're expecting these days. Kind of going more into depth of what we were just talking about is the fact that we are a mobile society. I work in an office of 25 people, and on any given day there's probably 8 people actually in the office because they're working off-site. They're working at Starbucks, they're in their car, they're going to a client site. We are not sitting behind a desk as much as we probably once were a few years ago. There's a new phenomenon called nomophobia, which is basically a deathly fear of losing your phone or breaking it, and having to be disconnected for more than a few minutes at a time. So, you know, and like it says, if they're 91% of all US citizens have their mobile device within reach 24/7. So we need to be reaching people through these mobile devices. And the ways of doing that are obviously creating an application for your business, so something that you're downloading from an iTunes store or Android store. Mobile websites, again, I just mentioned this, it's critical to have your site optimized for a mobile phone because a lot of people, whether they're shopping or just looking up information, are going to start by going to that site on their phone first, and if it's not a good user experience, they're going to leave. And then there's emerging technologies like text and geofencing. Geofencing is a new technology where basically we build a virtual perimeter or virtual fence around a physical location, so a shopping center. People can text in to participate, and when they drive onto the property, they will receive a text message that gives them the offers or the discounts or the promotions or the events happening at that center on that day at that particular time. So it's real time, it's providing that added value. They don't receive text messages anywhere other than when they're at the location that the messages are associated with. So it's providing that location-based service and driving customers into the stores using that mobile device. So basically what we're having to start to figure out is how are we going to take customers from shopping on their phone or shopping online to utilizing their mobile device to get the services that they need to get them into the stores. So mobile is becoming a huge resource. A huge resource in the shopping center industry. And that kind of leads into the next thing is that we live in real time at this point. If you can't get the information that you're looking for at the snap of your finger, your attention span goes way down. That's why things like media are utilizing Twitter so heavily. A lot of reporters these days are getting paid based on how many page views their articles get on the website. Or they're not paid, but their bonuses that kind of depend on it. So to get those page views up, they're using things like LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook to push out a link to their article, but they have to grab the reader's attention within those first 140 characters. People are only going to go in and actually read the entire article if something engages them really, really quickly and in real time. So breaking news, catchy headlines, those kinds of things are what necessary to get to the article, because nobody's just scanning the website looking for things anymore. You have to get them really quickly. Again, another thing is that we're going out from information being provided to us determining what information is coming in. So no longer are we flipping through the Wall Street Journal and reading every article. We're setting up our Twitter feeds or our flipboards on our iPads to basically track articles or stories that are of interest to us, and then they're brought directly into our mobile or iPad device. So it changes how media in particular has to get their information out there. They're starting to rely a lot more on social sharing. So having those, like the Wall Street Journal social reader on Facebook, where you see what your friends have read in the Wall Street Journal, that's then sharing that article as something that's of interest to your friends, a source that you rely on, a source that you trust, and if my friend Sally thought that article was interesting, well, maybe I'll read it too. So using those kinds of applications to get news out is an entirely new way of kind of hitting this target market. So kind of in short, real time, similar with the text message program, you're getting it in real time when it's most relevant to you, when the store is in front of your face, basically. Really quick headlines so that it grabs the reader's attention and they go on to get more information. And just kind of utilizing the fact that Twitter, mobile, and these news applications are going to be what engages those people quickly and in real time. So I'm actually going to pass it off to Pablo now. He's going to talk about what's going on in Latin America.
Okay. Hi, thank you very much. I hope you understand my English. I'm from Mexico, and I'm a CEO of a small property in Puebla, Mexico. But social media is here to stay, so our challenge is to engage the people to go to our site. So in Latin America, we have 4 trends. The first of all is internet penetration. We have a lot of room to grow. We have several companies going and giving the service of the internet. So we are growing and growing more than the US and almost close to Asia. So that's the first trend. The second one is social networking is here to stay. You have to live with. It's like a microwave oven. The first time you just touch it and everybody told you it's going to harm you. Now it's part of your life. That's social media. So in Latin America, we have 90% penetration of the internet on social media, and the 4 pages that the people visit the most are Facebook, Windows Live, Twitter, and Badu in Brazil, which is very famous. The third one is that we are growing with mobile communications. A lot of companies. The richest man in the world is from my country. I don't know why, but he is covering all the continent, including part of this country, and the internet is growing and growing, and you can access via mobile phone in about a third, 35% of the access on the internet in Latin America are via a mobile phone. And we still given and talking about text messaging. Everybody's texting, sexting, and everything you want to know about texting. So in Latin America, we keep in touch via texting. And used to be a teacher. Well, I'm a teacher, still doing a teacher, and it's very common to find a girl just saying, yes, I'm gonna be there. And everybody's texting. It's the fourth trend. And my final recommendations, social media is here to stay. You have to engage your customers. So you have to define a strategy. First of all, what do you want from social media? The second one, you have to have a solid web page. And also you have to have a mobile version of that page, because the people are coming with mobile phones. And of course you have to have access to the internet on your properties. You have to get involved in social media, what happens there. You cannot be outside of the party. And you have to put somebody in charge, because it's almost like a 24-hour work, you know? Everybody's complaining and talking about you, and you have to be there to answer all the questions and all the comments. And you have to post all the time. My strategy, for example, is to post very early in the morning and at noon, just to tell the people something about food, for example, and in the afternoon talking about movies, talking about ice creams, and at night with some special offer. And also we do a lot of retweets of what our retailers are doing. And that's it. Thank you very much.
Anybody have any questions?
How important is it, if you're not a company, but you're more of an individual like a lot of us entrepreneurs, how important is it to really have a web page anymore versus a blog page? I mean, if you have a blog page, my understanding is you can have all the links to your Twitter or something else. So what would you comment on? I mean, would you create a
Personal web page?
A personal web page and pay for a special website, or would you have a blog site?
Are you a broker?
Yes.
Yeah, I would probably go blog first. I think it's a lot easier, it's a lot probably less expensive to open up a blog than to go through an entire web process. So there's nothing to be hurt by going that route first and seeing what kind of traffic it generates. Even if it's a blog, you're still going to have a URL associated with it, so you can track traffic through like Google Analytics to see how many people are visiting the blog, where they're coming from. Like for instance, did they click on a link on Twitter to find your blog? Did they click on a link on LinkedIn to find your blog? I think LinkedIn would probably be an important place for you to be. But if you don't want to right off the bat invest in a website, I would test out a few of the other platforms first to see if they have any results. And if they don't, then maybe you go that route. And maybe you don't have a full website, maybe you just have a mobile site or something like that.
In my experience, you can have a web page, very serious, talking about your company, your properties, and on the blog you can talk about the community where the property is, and bring some photos, events on the community that you're going to be, and different ways.
Picture.
Yeah.
What's the typical cost of creating a website and getting connected, as you said, to all this, with an application and everything else that is required to actually be connected?
Actually we did a presentation called, it was basically Mobile Marketing 101, and I have some resources of companies that will take your existing website and convert it into a mobile version. It's basically taking all the same content and just reformatting how it looks so it fits within the screen of your phone. Creating an application, I mean, the cost just varies. It depends on how complex it is. It could be anywhere from, I don't know, a couple thousand to, I've seen people create, $100,000 applications. So there's a huge, there's no real range of price. It really just comes down to the functionality of what you want it to do. You can probably achieve the same thing for less money going the mobile website route. But, there's some people that like monitoring how many people download the app. You can track certain things through an application. You can still do that with a mobile view website. You can do that all through Google Analytics. It really comes down to what your ultimate goal is. I have found that creating a mobile view really almost always accomplishes as much as an application would, and you can usually do it for a lot less money. And I have those resources somewhere, but we're doing another mobile presentation on Tuesday, which will probably go into a lot more of that kind of stuff. Yeah. I think it's at 2:30 on Tuesday, maybe. It's on the schedule.
We're just on that tenant.
Like a
you have
private
the
URL.
website, but you also have a gateway page for the individual tenants.
And that page, go for it. You got this?
It's an intranet.
Is it,
You can build a page of your shopping mall, and also you can have an intranet for all your customers. You can make a small network, and they can communicate between the customers. It's very easy. And you can give them a specific access to them and see the balance, see the promotions, the events of the plaza, and nobody, the general public couldn't see it.
yeah, private URLs.
I don't think they're a bad idea. If they provide the information that the tenant needs to be able to access, then I think they have a benefit in the fact that it makes things more user-friendly for the tenant, and it's easier for them to access whatever it is they need to access. I know we've done promotions, or not promotions, but programs in the past where we would create private URLs for a specific retailer that was really targeted to their needs. So for instance, if we had a shopping center that we knew needed to fill a anchor spot, sending out an email to our top 20 tenants that we're prospecting that then takes them to a private URL that is catered to them and their interests and their needs, and right, it takes them to a specific page that is, if our target tenant is Target, they go to a page that only they see that speaks specifically to their needs and what they would want to see in a location.
That upset the Google crawler, I think it's called, the Google that goes out and on the generic.
You can, no. You have to have a direct link to it because, for instance, if you go to a website, you have a navigation across the top where you click and it takes you to the page. So we wouldn't have this in the navigation. They would have to have that customized URL to be able to access that page. So it still works the same as any other page in a website. So we could go into Google Analytics and we can see that it was accessed 20 times. Okay, well that doesn't seem like a lot, but if only one store has access to that URL, we can see, well, Target went and looked at this page 20 times. They're probably fairly interested in what's on the page. So you can still go in and track all that information. It just becomes, unless somebody somehow gets a hold of the URL, which is possible, or they forward it on to somebody else, but it's meant to be specific to that tenant or to that prospective client or whoever it is, so that it's really targeted information for them and it's not generic. So, and you can, like I said, you can still go in and track all the analytics for that and see kind of what's been going on. Yeah. Anybody else?
Got a question generally about QR codes.
Okay.
And QR codes, is there any place you think QR code marketing shouldn't go? Anywhere you're putting your website, you should be putting a QR code. My situation is a little bit different. We're a city, and when we introduced it to our marketing, they went wild. They put them up on stop signs. They made mock stop signs. They started putting them everywhere. Obviously we were getting a lot of press at one point, a lot of hits, and everything just died at the other.
The problem with QR codes is that when they first came out, people went QR code crazy, and like you said, just started putting them on everything. When you have a QR code, it needs to have a purpose. So for instance, iPad Day giveaway. The purpose is that's how you register for an iPad. On the schedule, the QR codes next to each presentation takes you to the actual PDF of the presentation so you can download it. Just linking your QR code to your website really doesn't serve much of a purpose. So you have to figure out what the point of the QR code is, and if there's a benefit and there's something that users will be able to use, then yeah, slap it on anything you want to. But the first question needs to be, what's the purpose of my QR code? And if it's just to send somebody to my website, that's not going to do anything. And like I said, people went QR codes crazy when they first came out, and we're just linking the QR code to their websites, and people stopped using them because they're like, I don't need to go to your website. So we're having to retrain people almost that now they have more of a point. And so, like, for instance, in this setting, it's easy because you can tell that people are using them for, you know, an iPad to giveaway or to get your business card information or whatever it is. Out in kind of the real world, you really have no idea what the purpose of the QR code is. So first, just figure out what you want to do.
Two ideas. For example, if you have an empty space in your shopping mall and you don't want everybody knows what happened there, you can put a QR code, and then they give access to a specific web page with all the information, not open to all the public. But the other thing is that you can put a QR code, but the big problem sometimes is that you don't have signal from yourself. And everybody wants to scan and say, there's no signal here, and it doesn't work. So that could be two ways to going good on the good side and on the bad side. But definitely, if you want something like a little bit mysterious, a little bit exclusive, use the QR codes in my experience.
And actually, I do think QR codes have a pretty strong presence in the retail world. I believe in New York, they're making it a requirement that any empty space has a QR code in the window so that people can scan it and find out what is the status is of that empty space. So last time I read, and this was a year ago because we talked about it at last Recon, but I believe they were making it a requirement that every person, that the city would always put a QR code in that window so that you could find out what was happening in that space. So again, just having information about it. And something really easy that you could do in the retail industry is new stores coming, put a QR code there that even if it's just a quick little mobile view that's like coming soon, this tenant, or check back in 2 weeks to find out what's happening here so that people can kind of keep up to date on that information. Anybody else? Questions? All right, well, guess we survived day one of Recon then. All right, thanks guys.